Welcome everybody to this Goodwill Meditation Group webinar. My name is Steve Nation. It's very good to see you all here. It's always, at this time of a webinar when we're just starting, it's always good to be looking at the participants bar, particularly the numbers. So it sort of very quickly shoots up as we get started. So it's good to see we have over 100 of us here together. Thank you for coming. Now, we're meeting today very soon after the full moon of Taurus, which is recognized by a number of esoteric traditions as being the festival of the Buddha. Usually that happens in May. It's usually the May full moon, which is when most Buddhist communities celebrate Wesak, but this year it happens to be in April. So we can imagine with this Wesak festival that our work today is drawing on the lighted radiations of the Buddha. And we can imagine that the work of all deep, thoughtful people and all deep, thoughtful groups who are meeting today and in the coming days, we can imagine that their thinking will be influenced by these lighted emanations. So let's begin our work today with a moment of silence, and we'll follow by using together the affirmation of group fusion. When we think of being at one with our group brothers, as we affirm in this mantra, we can think of this in the widest possible universal sense, as being at one with all men and women of all generations who are seeking to deepen their spiritual life as they strive to serve and to spread love during these chaotic and difficult and sometimes confusing times. So let's just have a moment of absolute stillness together. And we say together, I am one with my group brothers, and all that I have is theirs. May the love which is in my soul pour forth to them. May the strength which is in me lift and aid them. May the thoughts which my soul creates reach and encourage them. Thank you. These webinars are held on the last Wednesday of every month, and they're really held to work together with a meditation, the Goodwill Meditation Group. And this is a meditation that's used every Wednesday, every week, by people around the world. And for over 6 decades, people have been using this meditation. So we can think that today, when we come together through the different stages of the meditation outline, it's as if we'll be stepping into an already existing and well-established group field of thought. It's a group field that's alive and energized and vital. After all, there's been people doing this work for such a long time. And the livingness really comes not so much from the repetition, but from the diversity of all these different qualities, creative approaches, and thoughts that every individual participant brings to the meditation. Energy follows thought, as we know, and the use of a shared rhythm in group thought, each of us approaching it through our own perspective, but thinking together week after week and year after year, this is what makes a project like this Goodwill Meditation Group such a valuable and useful way of serving in preparation for the future, and are really contributing to the building of not just hope in the future, but real, living, vibrant faith in the new that is emerging in us and through us in our lives. At the center of the meditation we're going to be doing is the recognition that together as a group, we can draw on higher dimensions of mind. We might call the loving mind, or even the heart and the head. And beyond this mind of pure reason. And as we do so, as we draw on these higher levels of consciousness, we can imagine that we're aligned with all people of goodwill in the world, working in this meditation to exercise and strengthen the muscle of goodwill as it exists today in the world in all of its varying degrees of concentration and focus. The theme that this webinar that we're going to be working with today is preparing for a future civilization. And we're really fortunate, and I'm very grateful to have as a guest to explore this theme with us, Karl-Erik Edris, who will be joining us from Sweden. Karl-Erik's written a number of books in Swedish dealing with this theme, and he's also a long-term serious student of the Ageless Wisdom. He's the main translator and publisher of the Alice Bailey books in Sweden. So I can't really think of anyone better to guide our thinking and just to contribute to our discussion than Karl-Erik, and we'll be hearing from him and seeing him after the meditation. This focus on the future that we're looking at today can be thought of as a contribution to preparations and discussions that are underway around the world for a major UN gathering of governments and heads of state that's going to take place in September. This is called the Summit of the Future. And as a further contribution to the thinking and planning for the summit by concerned groups, World Goodwill is just about to release a new issue of its newsletter with the theme, Thinking the Future into Existence. You should all, wherever you are, you should all receive either an email about this in the next few days, or you'll receive a copy in the mail in a week or two. The newsletter includes an introduction to the UN Summit together with news of 8 groups, like symbols, that are groups that have a focus, and their whole purpose is about the future and preparing for the future. And one of the groups that's discussed in the meditation is a federation of academics, professionals, and institutions, academic institutions around the world that are engaged in futures studies. It's quite surprising to know the sort of range of future studies and the number of places. I think there are over 86 institutions in all different parts of the world whose whole purpose is to explore the future. The Federation defines their focus on future studies as the systematic study of possible, probable, and preferable futures, and including, they say, the worldviews and myths that underlie each future, which is particularly significant because it does draw attention to the focus on consciousness, the themes, the whole mythology that underlies the present. And it's interesting that there are 5 dominant approaches, apparently, amongst all the different groups who focus on future studies, academic future studies. There are 4 dominant approaches, and one of these, which is becoming increasingly, drawing increasing amount of support, that's practiced by members of the Federation, draws on the integral theory of Ken Wilber, which is particularly of interest for us because it does place a recognition on the role of subjective energies and the role of consciousness in the shaping of reality. So that's interesting. I found that especially interesting, that in the academic study of the future, there is a growing body of thought that's looking at the role of consciousness. The Cycle of Conferences, Meditation and Visualization Initiative is also going to release a focus very soon concentrating on a forthcoming conference which will take place between May the 9th to 10th. That's in a couple of weeks. That takes place in Nairobi, Kenya, where civil society groups associated with the UN will be exploring and developing their input to the September summit. In other words, they'll be focusing on their vision of the future and how we can get from where we are now to what is possible in the future. And the goal of this civil society conference in Nairobi is for the groups to have an impact on the growth of international cooperation amongst people as well as governments around the 5 major themes that the summit's going to be addressing. These themes are sustainable development and financing for development, international peace and security, science, technology and innovation and digital cooperation, youth and future generations, and transforming global governance. And then finally, in contribution to the atmosphere of thought within UN headquarters during the days of the summit, we'll be inviting those with a background in the aegis wisdom to work with the cycle of conferences, visualization, imagining the planting of a seed of living will energy into the heart of the thought form under construction in September. So that's later in the year. So right now, let's work together with the meditation. Link up in thought with all the people around the world working with this Goodwill meditation group. And imagine ourselves as one group in consciousness. Now think about relationship and the fact that everything is about relationship. We're related, for example, to our family, to our community, to our nation, the country where we live or were born. We're related to the world of nations as they increasingly interact and becoming interdependent. And we're related to the one humanity. All the races and nations and groups that make up this kingdom and nature, the human kingdom, our kingdom. And together let us use this mantra of unification. The souls of all are one, and I am one with them. I seek to love, not hate. I seek to serve and not exact due service. I seek to heal, not hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form, and life and all events, and bring to light the love that underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate, and outer cleavages be gone. Let love prevail. Let all people love. Turn your mind to think about your own and humanity's relationship with all those beings who dwell in the higher realms of mind and heart. The spiritual hierarchy of saints, rishis, bodhisattvas and masters, honored by all the world's religions and spiritual groups. And imagine yourself standing together with all those who are using this, working with this meditation, standing together within the center of the spiritual hierarchy, immersed in the consciousness of the heart of love. This heart of love is known by many names. For some, speak of the Christ. Others speak of the one at the center as the Maitreya, the coming Buddha, the Imamati, and the Kalki Avatar, and many other names. maintaining that high point of contact. Let your thoughts reach out to include all members of the human family in whom the energy of goodwill is active. And silently use the affirmation, in the center of all love I stand. From that center, I, the soul, will outward move. From that center, I, the one who serves, will work. May the love of the divine self be shared abroad, in my heart, through my group, and throughout the world. Now imagine the energy of love flowing from the spiritual hierarchy through the men and women of goodwill and into the hearts and minds of all people, infusing them with goodwill and creating loving and harmonious human relationships. And meditate on ways of being today in today's world that spread goodwill, create right human relationships, and contribute to the restoration of peace on earth. Realize that by working together with this meditation format, we're helping to build a channel between the spiritual hierarchy and humanity, a channel through which the energy of goodwill may flow, uniting humanity, solving its problems, and healing all differences and cleavages. And now linked with people of goodwill from every part of the world, sound together the great invocation, the adapted version, with deliberation and with full commitment to its meaning, knowing that as we do this together, we are radiating its potent energies to humanity. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. And from the center which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. So, Karl-Erik, will you can you turn on your video, please, and unmute yourself? Haha, there he is. Greetings, sir.
Well, I do not see myself, but that doesn't matter. I know
We'll
that
see.
I'm here.
You are here. So it's an honor and a joy to have Karl-Erik with us. As I said before, you, sir, have written several books in Swedish, including some novels, which I think is a really interesting way. We might discuss that, because novels are a really interesting way of looking at the problems of the present and the future that is becoming through a very human lens, through our lens. So I think it's interesting that you've been writing more and more in that line, and you've written many books. And in addition to that, what's sort of not so well known is that you are the primary translator and publisher of all of the Alice Bailey books in Swedish, which is a terrific service. And I can't imagine any way of sort of being forced to penetrate into some of those teachings and to have to translate it into a completely other language. So all those, you and your fellow translators in all different languages, it's a terrific labor, but in a way it's also a great service as you are forced to penetrate something of the meaning and essence. Now, for our conversation, let me just say that Karl-Erik, if people search on the website, you will find a website for Karl-Erik, which is mostly in Swedish. And then for those few of us on this call who don't speak Swedish, I'm one of them, you can either, there's some pages in English, but I found it easier to use the Google Translate, and then you can see into the mysteries of the deeply occult Swedish language. So Karl-Erik, I thought to begin with, your latest book has the fascinating title, Where is the World Heading? And it's interesting because in a way that title is sort of in the back of the minds of almost over half, a huge number of the human beings in incarnation today. What on earth's going on? Where is it heading? I was interested that one reviewer of the book referred to your view, where you have studied looking at history and seeing what it can reveal about the present and the future that's coming. One reviewer referred to your view that this time is one when a civilization-bearing vision is taking shape. What I understood as being where something so vital and strong is emerging in human consciousness and our understanding that it can be strong enough to guide a whole new civilization. So tell us a little bit about this book.
Well, that is not a small question. So, and the book is over 600 pages. So if I'm going to say something crisp and short about that, maybe I should begin with, we are living sort of in the aftermath of the greatest of all revelations happening in the axial age. 800 years or so it started with, when all the and 600 and some years on in history, where where there was a deep revelation about the human being as a unique, creative, and eternal individuality, and that this individuality is a fragment of the foundation of all existence and the first source of all that is, also the home of perfect love, will, and insight. It started back then, and all the now existing civilizations slowly formed from this civilization, civilization creating vision, and got its local colors. So we have all the different big civilizations, but over time they all started to become stiffer or more fundamentalist, or institutionalized and not lively and vibrant anymore. And this is to make it very short. And then from the Enlightenment on, there happens things in the Western Christian civilization that gave rise to an increased analytical capacity that sort of prepared the way for a revitalization, and that is so that every one of the old civilizations have a difficulty in keeping strong and live and vibrant, and we are now, the modern age has created this, and this is a evolutionary success, so to say, because it will integrate science in the picture of what is going on. So, but you maybe ask more questions because
Yeah.
this is so big. So I will not keep a lecture.
Exactly. It's such a huge topic, but in a way now when we're at a time when there's an ending time,
Yeah,
and it's often very hard for people to see the new beginning that's also part of that ending time. And why don't you use the image of the caterpillar and the butterfly, and you use it beautifully.
yeah. Uh, what is happening is um, we 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 lose contact with the deeper realities. So we see things on the surface and see that this is chaos and it cannot end in a good way. But we are not. We doubt the fact that it is light that drives the darkness to the surface. So we see the darkness and we get upset and we criticize and we draw into the chaos ourselves. So this idea about the caterpillar and the butterfly came to me when I realized that the process that give birth to the butterfly is that in the caterpillar all the time there are imaginal cells that have the blueprint for the butterfly, and this they are attacked by the immune system of the caterpillar. So they are sort of like political opposition to the caterpillar order, so to say. But they survive this, and yeah, and the caterpillar is the result. And I see this is uh, the
You mean the
same process.
butterfly as a result?
Yeah, the butterfly is the result. Maybe I said something
No,
else.
you said the caterpillar.
My chaotic brain produces yeah, I'm better in Swedish actually. But uh, it, in a way, every human being is a cell that can, such an imaginal cell. But most of us are unaware of this. But there are a certain percentage or like that can have um, their contact with the deepest transforming level and generate that in their surroundings or their milieu and work for the coming energy, for the coming things, because civilizations are not a product of our intellectual mind and our analysis. It is something else. It is on the deep mythical level beyond speech. So it's sort of just an energy that penetrates the atmosphere, and those who are receptive to that can translate it from no speech to speech, but this speech holds this energy. So it's sort of like a seed from the future. These energies are like seeds from the future. And if you can tune into them, you can begin to manifest the future now in this chaotic presence. So we all have that capacity. If we could stay away from all the chaotic forces and have our strong inner focus, we can save the world where we are. We can
And,
save the world where we are.
and in a way, we become seeds.
Yeah,
We become seeds, and that image of the butterfly, the way you describe it, the caterpillar to the butterfly, I especially like the idea of the immune forces, the immune system resisting the new imaginal cells,
yeah,
and that resistance is actually what brings strength, and it forces
yeah,
concentration. It
yeah,
forces these imaginal cells to become conscious.
yeah, yeah,
And in a way, through this is the essence of esoteric work also, because it's bringing the intuitive impressions of synthesis. You write about, you often refer to synthesis. So
Yeah,
these imaginal cells are responding to the spirit of synthesis. This is manifested in this incredible revelation of interdependence and sort
yeah,
of environment. Everything is about relationship. And
yeah,
this is forcing itself into all of our living cells to become seeds.
yeah. So receptivity, listening of, if you are in a concrete circumstance, your work or other circumstances, listening to what could manifest through this group in this circumstance, and that it's very necessary to be deeply focused, and it is also maybe it's beyond logic and analytics. It has to do with intuition. I think about an old Nobel Prize winner called Vladimir Prelog that said something like this: logic is the art of being wrong with confidence. So, so you must see who comes first. The intuition comes
Yeah.
first, and you can perhaps serve it with logic, but not putting logic thinking first, because then you only continue with that which you perhaps you take for granted, and then you continue the track that you're already on. So, and there is also another thing I would like to mention, which has to do with how we it's a story about a foolish military man that says to his soldiers, if the map doesn't correspond to reality, the map is what counts. And, and this is not something
No,
that
exactly.
only valid for stupid militaries. It's valid for all of us. Our
Exactly.
maps are
Exactly.
in language, and we keep it and we defend it and all these things. So we must try to come in contact with reality and not with our own maps. And that is a very
That's wonderful.
central work.
Because the maps that have structured our world today, maps of materialism, they're defined
Yeah,
by
yeah,
materialism,
yeah,
and those maps are what's breaking down because they are no
yeah,
longer describing, as you say, reality. That puts a terrific, not responsibility so much as just a way of seeing what is happening on the imaginal cells, on all of those who sense this new reality of relationship. To see, I love that idea, to see it, say in their professions particularly, the professions always interest me, but to see it where you're working and to see where those others who are sensing the new, to see them and to see that they may not be like, if we come from an esoteric background, it may be nothing to do with esotericism, but they are responding to
yeah.
this intuitively, to this new vision. And
One thing that I have met, I think, a lot is that when problems in the world are described as very big and threatening, you feel small, and you can come into a situation where you think that you can do nothing, that you are too small and it doesn't matter. And then there starts to grow some kind of anger or disappointment that you sort of project towards world leaders and all kinds of things. And you are not, and this is, I thought about James Bond when I thought about that. He had a license to kill, but here is a license to hate. You get very upset. You think you have a license to hate, and says and this inner upsetness and anger, and saying, why don't they solve this on the central part or centrally? But I don't think that we can expect a grand solution perfect for all. The essence, in my view, on this is you must start working, saving the world where you are. It's a small place, but that doesn't matter. We are 8 billion people. If every one of us take care of and saves our the little things we have responsibility for, it will make it much easier to do wise central decisions.
And it reminds me of soil, of the role in agriculture, the role of soil. If you take care of the soil, and it seems such a boring, in modern intellectual thought, it seems so basic and boring. And yet that's the problem, that we're not attending to the soil. And we in our lives are the soil. And our communities, that like at the street we live in, is the soil of community. It is where
we need to help our politicians being better, and we are not helping politicians being better by hating them or what we do. We get the politicians that we deserve.
Exactly, and it's because the problem. In a moment, we'll invite you to raise your hands. Anyone who wants to have a chat with Karl-Erik. Just the thought that yes, that to be aware of the role that scapegoating plays for all of us. Because probably all of us are doing it because it's so outside in the culture, where we give so much energy to those we disagree with and brand them as the enemy, that we lose all the focus on building the new, and we become completely absorbed in just like it's everything the Tibetan said is the opposite of goodwill. It's why he downplays criticism. And some say that, well, you have to see what's wrong. Well, that's okay, you can, but you notice it, and then all of your energy goes into building the new.
But the interesting wrongs are the ones you do yourself.
Exactly.
Because these are the only wrongs that you have power over to change immediately. Other wrongs are very much more complicated.
And it's sorry, I was just going to say, it's so easy to just say, well, you get rid of them, and then everything will be solved. And of course, we know that is not the case.
So my main message is always this: do what you can do with love, because love and knowledge and truth goes together. If you have not love in your heart, your conviction that you have truth anyway is not true. Love must be a part of knowledge for it to be true.
Exactly. Perfect. Robin Flatley Robin, you've raised your hand. Please unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. I have a question about, is criticism the same as negative thought? Thank you.
Well, criticism, yeah, somewhat. I prefer to say that analysis is okay. It's not. It's okay to try to understand as clearly as you can. It comes when the problem is when you downgrade or point your finger to and give yourself license to have angry feelings and judging feelings, and that makes it all more complicated to solve situations. So, that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, because in the critical intelligence, like analysis, or can be thought of as the creative mind and the rational mind, which does see and distinguish. But I think that's perfect, Karl-Erik. Shida, love to hear from you. please unmute yourself and feel free to put on your camera if you want to too.
Hi, thank you so much to both of you for an amazing discussion. I have a conceptual problem which I'd love you to help me solve, and that is that I feel that when we're talking about our governors or the governments or the political leaders in the West, we have this assumption that there is an intention to do good, and therefore we are trying to place the good seeds in there to help them grow into the right direction that we think is right. I come from a background where there's absolutely no doubt whatsoever that there is no goodwill on the part of our governors in countries like Iran. And so how would you deal with a situation like that, where essentially you have people who have pretty much no goodwill towards their nation and their fellow country?
My view on that is that the strategy ought to be the same, but it will take longer time, or it will happen drastic changes. So I think that, yeah, that's my view on it. That because I'm aware of the necessity, of course, that there will be revolutions, and but the problem is that if you stops the power holding of these persons through violent means, it will often be difficult to come on the right track directly. You will start another aggressive or self-propaganda. I don't know how to express that, but I think that if you have got this inner contact that you is sure of your capacity to express the future in the now, then you should keep to that and not think in more revolutionary and angry and violence terms. Well,
yeah, no, thank you for that.
Maybe you could help me a little bit there, Steve.
No, I would agree with that. The one thing, Shida, the thought that occurs to me also is that it's a case where it is important, it would seem to me, to recognize the problem where there is, for example, in your own case, with being so close to Iran, the terrible abuse of human beings that's occurring, to recognize that, to understand it, to understand those whose life is about the transformation of that. But at the same time, because not so many others will be doing it, as Karl-Erik says, within that environment and that culture, to be living what seems to you to be the right and the new, within the context of that culture, because nobody other than people from that culture can do that.
Yes, I mean, I think what the response that I seem to be getting also on the comments is about aggression, responding to aggression with aggression. I definitely don't mean that, but it's just interesting to kind of think about governments not as necessarily always being benign, because we also see now how a lot of the so-called benign governors around the world are actually supporting regimes like that through arms deals, through strategic kind of investments, etc., etc. So it doesn't become a local problem. And the people of Iran have shown huge forbearance over the last 45 years. They have had no power to be aggressive. And I certainly wouldn't want other countries in the world to show aggression towards the regime. So I think these extreme cases really focus our minds as to what are the pathways truly available without the massacring of people that's been going on for 45 years in places. I mean, Iran is just one example.
Thank you for that, Shida, because I think in a way, without necessarily moving on with that, you really do highlight this thing of the imaginal cells and the immune system, and there's no simple answer. And each of us have to find, and it's good to have that deep thought, sort of.
And there are, of course, mixed motives in all political leadership. There are not, everybody is not a potential saint. There are very much mixed motives, but it is a sort of reflection of some kind of subjective state within the nation. So I think it's always necessary for the people to wake up from the beliefs that this leading group tries to close them into, rein them into certain thought forms. So it's very difficult. And by me, it should be said in Swedish instead.
We had one more raised hand that's, I'm sorry, your hand was raised for some time. I see it's come down. Are there any more raised hands?
Maybe you
yes,
should.
Marie-France, please unmute yourself and reveal yourself if you wish through your video.
Video, I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, well, I don't have the video, but
okay.
Yeah, I can do the video. Yeah. Well, I lower my hand because the subject was going on, but I totally agree with Karl about working with our governments instead of against our government. And that's why also I like the meditation, the dissipation of world glamour, especially when it says at the end, the power of our united light prevents the appearance of the glamour of the intellect, which we have a lot in the world today with all different sort of opinions and contradictions, especially mainly for the medias, which does not help our politics of the world or even peace in the world. So all the conversation that has been going on is very interesting because that's what I just feel about that. If we were working more with our nations constructively and helping through meditation and love, the world would be better. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marie-France. Thank you.
Well, Steve, what do you think?
Well, I think we've done pretty well. Does anyone else want to have a? We're coming up towards the end of the hour. Is there anything any final thoughts you'd like to add? Because I think this is so much central to all of their neighbors. If I think where I live, everyone is really concerned about this. What the hell is happening to the world? What's going on?
Yeah, I still have this idea that if you focus on your own best inner context and try to express love in your circumstances, you will also be sensitive to where you are meant to work. You will see clearer what your own contribution is. Because if you get confused and dissatisfied with your own contribution, this will spill over to your interpretation of the world. But if you feel that I am in the place where I ought to be, and I do this with as much love I can in my heart, and I do this, then I can rest in that, because no one expects just me to solve all the problems. We must do this together. I have found my little part, and I can inspire others to do their thing. And we see this as a decentralized world saving, not the central when some very genius says, let's do it like this. Yes, let's do it like this, but that will not work. So I am a proponent of this idea of decentralized world saving, doing it and having this focus so that you can receive that inner blessings or sense of meaning and purpose by working where you are. And if you is very successful there, things can open up so that your circle of influence or circle of care expands. So keep focused and don't follow any license to hate or do foolish things. Try to stay pure and work where you are. And it will be okay, because this the development of this planet, it is not a tragedy. It will not end with the Earth Logos committing suicide. This is development and increase now, according to my simple opinion.
I think thank you, Karl-Erik. That's a perfect way to end, and just the sense of how that attitude is what evokes and calls forth the soul. Yeah. So the more that's the essence of faith, and it is actually the essence of preparing for the future, because there's a destiny.
Yeah, it is also tempting to try to or believe that you must understand everything. Yes. Well, it's not. It's okay if you understand what you should do yourself. Because if you are confused there, well, how could you then contribute? So start at home, I think, and that's it.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Karl-Erik. Look, I'm very sorry, Judith. We've come to the end, and Judith and Cindy have raised your hands. I'm very sorry. Please, everybody, save the chat. I haven't had a chance to look at the chat, but I can see there's a lot there, and I'm sure there's a lot of insightful comments from the group. Thank you very much, everybody. Karl-Erik, thank you so much. We gave you very little notice, and you there was an instant message. Yes, I will do it. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
I'm born in Aries.
It's greatly appreciated. Thank you, everybody. And remember, this is still the Waysack energy is still flowing, very much related to everything that Karl-Erik's been speaking about. And please look out for the newsletter that's coming, and also for those who are interested in the cycle of conferences work, an email will be coming out within the next week anyway, in preparation for that event. So thank you, everybody, and good afternoon and good evening to those of you who choose to live in Europe, and way further afield. Good late evening to you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.